Hello.
All right, and we're live. Hi, everybody. This is Jen Louziotis and Janelle Hoyland. Welcome to the second season of Spiritual Happy Hour. We're so excited to come and be with you all tonight. We are doing this in a whole different way, and I cannot wait for you to see Janelle right now. We used to be on Blog Talk Radio, and now we're on Hangouts on YouTube Live, so you can see us, you can see our faces, and you can see our reactions. Before I turn it over to Janelle, I want to tell you that Happy Hour is all about connecting the spirit world with everyday life. We want to bring you real life solutions through divine conversation. And I'm Jen Louziotis, your co-host. I consider myself like a spiritual educator. I got connected with Janelle a bunch of years ago in Hawaii, and I love connecting to ask questions about how to live a more divinely led life. And Janelle is a soul pathway healer, psychic, intuitive, and I'm going to turn it over to her right now. And I can't wait for you to see what she's doing. So I'm going to mute myself, because then the camera won't go back and forth, and I'm going to put Janelle on. And Janelle, welcome. Here we go. Here we go.
So apparently I'm in, what is that, Venice today with my little crown here. A little appropriate for my for my last couple of days. I'm excited to be back on air live with Jen, doing this together. And I just am excited to share even more information with you over the next couple weeks as we do this live more and more. So, excuse my crown. Let me adjust it. Adjust it here. Okay, there we go. That's perfect.
Oh my God.
So, I'll let me get to my regular self. And I hope that you enjoy everything this evening, and I can't wait to share.
Oh my God, I love that. So note that I'm not as technical as Janelle yet in terms of, while I have that app, I have to like play around and do my question mark and stuff. Tonight we are going to be talking about aging and women and judging ourselves and what that really feels like. And Janelle, you know this about me. I am totally guilty of that, of being self-critical of myself, getting older. And I'm that person in Walmart, instead of looking at my phone in line, I'm looking at other people, comparing myself to other people, feeling like, oh, that woman has fantastic hair. I wish I had that hair, or, you know, something like that. And so I wanted to open up and ask you, I know how that feels for me. I mean, I know I'm self-judging, so I can only imagine how that must feel to my vibration and to people around me. But I would love it if you would just open up and give us your thoughts on that whole piece, because it's not really allowing probably my true self or authentic self to come out. And I'm just wondering what that's like for other people and how that really feels. So.
Well, for me, I find that, even in the spiritual arena, there's a lot of judgment, and, you should look this way, or actually even people outside of the spiritual arena looking at us as intuitives, they think that we should be wearing the long dress or the, I don't know, crystals adorned everywhere, and maybe some, I don't know, body jewelry somewhere or something like that. And, because I often get that quite a bit, because I don't intend to go against that grain, but it just happens. And I think also to the thing about, when you're going into like a new space, a new environment, you can feel the energy. And so the tendency is to look at, okay, what am I doing?
Okay, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that you just said that, because that's really true. You walk into anything, it can be something new. And I would think, like, when people walk into something new, they're even more judgy of themselves. But any space, walking in, trying to assess, like, where am I? What's everybody else doing? What am I doing in comparison to them? And it can be in every facet. It doesn't have to just be clothing or whatever. It can be what you're saying, like in what you do for a living. And and how that feels. And I don't know, I mean, I'm aware of when I do this for clothes, for hair, for this, for that, but I'm sure there's got to be 1,000 more layers to what I'm doing where I'm probably not aware. I mean, are people as aware of doing this, Janelle, or is it a little bit of a, not a subconscious, but a little bit of a track that we kind of go in, autopilot, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it is, you know, I see it a lot, you know, in being in the, you know, leadership role, you know, like when you ask a group a question, you know, a lot of times they don't want to be seen as the one to automatically stand out, or, you know, when you ask a question, you know, you may get, you know, people looking at you in judgment, things like that, you know. So I see that happen quite a bit in just in that space. But I also, it's really interesting to me because I also face it, like if let's say I'm going to drop my son off at school and the moms are lined up in the hallway, you know, so it's run the gauntlet, you know, and there's all the looks about, well, you know, I have this shirt that says never perfect but always awesome, and like big gold letters, you know. So it's often like I you know, I can feel the eyes as I'm walking down the hallway, you know, and I just wave and say hi and whatever else, you know. But you know, I allow that uncomfortable space. I don't push it away.
Okay, well, that's huge, because I think, like, here would be my thinking. I would feel, right, walking down that same path to school or that same hallway, I think we can all feel the eyes on us, whether it's the true eyes on us or our own interpretation of feeling like everyone's looking at us, or a combination of both. I would want to not feel it. I would want to go, no, reflect that away. I don't even want to know that exists, or I want to turn it off. So can you talk a little bit about what happens? Because I'm assuming most people would probably want to do the same thing, not walk into that. Can you talk a little bit about what that does versus walking into it, and how that must be freeing up for who you are, or, you know, again, allowing you to be who you're.
Yeah, so it's interesting, so what the first feeling is imploding or pulling in, okay, and looking at, scanning you, like, what am I wearing, what am I not present. And then the second space of, like, when you feel that, I just allow that to come up, right? And then I just let it come out of me, like explode from me. And then that creates the peace and harmony within me in that space.
Okay, because if you don't do that, and are most people even aware of that feeling, like that whole imploding, or do they just feel like they themselves get tight? Like they attribute it to, I'm tense today, or I don't know what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think we do feel the imploding. We feel it pulling us in, because we kind of shut down a little bit, and then we're looking at whatever we have there. And then I do think that we relate to it as closing down too. You know, I think both are true. I think we feel it, but we dismiss a lot of our own feelings, I think, you know, and as not okay. Like, it's not okay to feel that way.
Well, wait, I was going to say this too. Like, then don't we blame ourselves somehow? Mm-hmm. You know, bring it back onto you, instead of realizing that maybe it's an outside source, and then you would probably say, so I know it's there, and it's supposed to just be how life is. But are you supposed to use it then as a tool? Like, I guess we should probably go back to the imploding piece and allowing yourself to just feel it, because then, as you said, it releases the whole piece.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it does, you know, the allowing of it is there, but the other thing is, it's the feeling that there's something wrong. That's the issue. So so I'll just give you the example of me, like walking down the hallway, you know, even though I feel that kind of, you know, all the eyes kind of looking at me, I know secretly, even though the imploding is happening, I know that everyone else is just worried about everybody else. they're not even really worried about me. They may be looking at me like of eyes of discernment, but really what's going on in their inner dialogue is whatever they're thinking about what I'm doing in relationship to who they are as a being.
Okay, got it. So it's going straight back to them. But we then can mistakenly feel it if we're not aware of what's going on as all directed to us, even though it maybe just be a look or a very fleeting thought, right? But towards you or towards me or towards whoever, and then it's really back to them. So do they get imploding back to them then? I mean, what does that bounce off be then? Because I mean, all right, let's take you for an example. You're the bright, shiny person walking down the hall, fantastic energy, and they're thinking whatever they're thinking as that's shooting to you. You get the imploding. Okay, great. What bounces back then? I mean, I know they're all in their head about what you are in relation to them, but what else comes back? Or is that just depending on what you decide to send or what you decide to do with what you get?
No, it's interesting because it's also like what you didn't do. Like they're also going through their to-do list, their things that they should have done, they shouldn't have done, they should have said. I mean, it's a whole gamut of things that's happening inside of that person, and I've really found a lot in my experience don't fit any of those norms, you know, at all in any category. That people get perplexed by that because they want to put you in some kind of category. You know, so being very authentic to myself, but that also comes with being true to what my age is. I'm very comfortable with that. I don't feel like I should, you know, I don't feel like, I don't feel like I'm 43. I feel like I'm 20. So but some days my knee kind of cracks a little bit when I'm going upstairs, so that reminds me that I'm 43. But anyway, go ahead. I can see your brain's like going a mile.
I know, you can tell because, okay, so I'm the opposite. And I don't want to be the opposite, right? I'm 48, right? So I'm getting closer to 50 while I'm thrilled with where I am in life. And I don't want to be the person I was at 30 or what have you. And I don't want to buy into, you know, I don't know. I don't want to put parameters or labels on where I'm headed, but I'm still stuck in that middle of, and it always comes out physically, like, oh, my hair is gray. Oh, I got a new wrinkle. Oh, this and that. And I know I don't want to focus on that at all. And it fascinates me, Janelle, as women, again, in a split second, we can be wherever we are, in the soccer field, in the grocery store, in the post office, making these judgments about other people and ourselves and not realizing the impact, right, to ourselves internally, the other people, and then as a group, right, to women everywhere. Because I would have to think, you know, if I'm, again, even though I don't want to put labels on where I'm going in my age, and I don't necessarily feel 48, but I keep that head game is still going on in my head.
Yeah, no, see, it's really interesting because when, let's just give the example, when you're walking to the grocery store and you see this great looking woman that you think is fantastic, you know, she's got whatever outfit on and you think it's great, or she's looking a certain way and you identify her as something that you think is fantastic, you know, whether it's her haircut or her hair color, or the way she wears the makeup or not makeup, whatever, with that woman, instead of throwing the judgment on yourself about, well, I'm not that, identify with that woman about, like, what is it? Is it the hair color? Is it the energy that she's putting off? Is it the way she carries herself? Is it her ownership of who she is? That. and then take ownership of that space in you.
Okay, I love that.
You can have that just as much as she has that.
Right, because so now would it be as well that there is that, I'll just call it soul recognition of yourself that sees you in that person too, and those qualities? Like, is that your soul going, hey, even though my brain might say, hey, I love her hair, but is that already a recognition? Let's say that if this person is, I don't know, really outgoing or something, of me going, yeah, but I also have that too. Is that present for people?
Sort of, not as much. I think it sort of is, but again, you know, the thing that I'm talking about is like, you know what I'm talking about when you see a woman and she's wearing like a great outfit and she's just carrying herself a certain way, and you're like, oh my God, she's great. I love how I want to feel like that.
Right. Yeah.
And so that, to me, I look at that as the universe kind of saying, and you're also your spirit saying that you can have that as well. Yeah,
it's that example of worthiness, or whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, not even worthiness.
Yeah, well, it's kind of worthiness. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's just like, again, here I go with my fascinating. It's all fascinating. As a group, though, for women, have we always had this thought, you know, through time, or through the last 10 years or 20 years, you know, where do we stand as a group? Because, you know, we're all trying to step into our authentic selves and embrace who we are. So I'm just curious to know, as a group, how often are all of us doing this? Are some of us doing this? And where do we stand with this? Is this slowly, little by little people are not doing this to the extent that they used to?
Well, you know, I think it's, okay, so if we go in our history lesson, we were more communal as far as our female energy. We were very supportive of each other. You know, we would bring over whatever to help the baby come home, you know, when the mother gave birth, or if they were pregnant. Even in their cycle, there was a whole celebration around woman being woman. And because we've been in this largely male-dominated energy on the earth for so long, that I think we have lost quite a bit of that interconnectedness and what it means to feed each other and to celebrate who we are as individuals and how that collective can make us stronger.
Right, I have this question. Because it's been so male dominated, then as women, are we subconsciously feeling threatened by one another? Like that communal went to threaten?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you, and so the only way to release that, or to start to release it, is just to, again, like you said before, look at, if you're attracted to someone or you're attracted to some quality in them, take that time out, 2 seconds, to say, what really is it about this person that I'm really, you know, interested in or attracted to, and find that quality in yourself.
Yeah, to definitely look at that energy as a whole, and you know, instead of looking at yourself as, what am I doing wrong? Because that's automatically what we do, is we, as women, we look at, well, I'm not that, so I'm less than, you know.
Right, I'm less than, or I can't even try to be that. Right, like maybe that's out of my league. But it's interesting to know, I didn't think that was that, what's the word? I didn't think that so many people did that per se. You know, I think too, like I always think, well, that's just me. Like everyone else must be completely confident in who they are and what they do, right? I'm the only one that's sitting here unsure of what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
So I was going to say, in this male-dominated world, and you were saying, like, we need to really get back to community. How? You know, how? I know you already said one example is looking at who you're attracted to and how you're doing it, and realizing that, you know, not beating yourself up. But how else? Like, what are some other ways?
Well, I think it's the accepting of who you are. Like, we are very unique in ourselves. You know, the qualities that you possess, I don't possess, you know, and to be able to look at those as strengths and compliments to who we are, right? So it's that surrounding yourself with For me, it's surrounding myself with women that I feel are strong, are determined, who want to make a difference in the world. And I also tend to be very attracted, not to age, but to women that are doing revolutionary things. That's like a beacon for me, you know? I haven't seen too many younger girls do that yet that I identify with. They've mostly been in their 70s and 80s. For some reason, that's an age frame that I just think they're Spitfire women.
Well, and also there are, I think probably those women who are the revolutionary ones somehow haven't lost touch with those places of themselves, right? They haven't, you know, they've always kept that as an underlying part of you, because we've talked about this in past shows, how there has to be the yin and yang, right? The feminine and the masculine piece. And as we said before, it's almost like as women, we've gone a little too far with just the way that the world is run, you know, and we've kind of got there. But again, there are some women who are leaders who really have a way of not losing touch with that at all. And they have that way of being very feminine, but still leading. And as you said, I think that goes back to knowing who you are and remembering that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, there's something around like identifying or looking to someone else to identify who you are. You know, like even though you're looking at the image of the woman that you think is beautiful, or there's certain qualities about her, it is also, there's also the thing of not knowing who we are as individuals. Like who am I, right? What do I, you know, what do I like to wear? What are my, how do I express myself? What makes me feel comfortable? All of those things create the identity or the person that I am, including my age, you know? So it doesn't mean that I don't have my bad days and go look in the mirror and like, you know, like we all do it, right? No, we gotta, you know, whatever we're doing, right, in the mirror, we're like, wait, this didn't look like this the other day. It was up here.
Yeah. And also, I swear I got like 8 hours sleep. Why don't I look like that? I don't understand. Like, what's going on? You know? You know, well, again, because I feel like the older I get, the younger I feel in myself, right? But, you know, sometimes just, you know, or I just smile too much, so the face doesn't always reflect that piece. But wait, I lost it. I was going to ask you a question. Oh, I hate this. It went out of my head, Janelle. It was a couple comments back that you're talking about. I had this question about women and authenticity, and I'm not sure. I'm going to turn it back over to you because it'll come back to me in a minute. Okay.
Right. Well, there was a great video that I saw recently, and the women were talking about their style, and they had these really unique styles from each other. You know, they had some of them wore hats, you know, and they were all in their 70s and 80s. And the message that they were giving was, it doesn't matter what your age is. It matters what you feel like in what you're wearing and what you're doing.
Well, and also, I just remember what it was when you said that piece about the style. And I say this every show, but we always come in knowing who we are. We always come in with that style. I mean, if you go to any preschool, you're going to see the 4-year-olds. Some pick the boa, some pick the cowboy hat, some pick the purple, some pick the this, the that. And again, there are those women who never lose that. And then there are others who I feel like always around 3rd or 4th grade, you know, suddenly it becomes what somebody else thinks. And it doesn't have to be. But I think that's, for me, I feel like that's where I witnessed it to start. You know, suddenly the want to be, this is what's interesting too, Janelle. I kind of feel like as kids, the want to be in that community brings you to almost forget yourself. at that age. Does that make any sense to you? So if I'm in 4th grade and I want to be friends with, I don't know, 3 girls and they don't like my sneakers. So I don't want to wear my sneakers because now they're saying that blue reminds them of Elsa or Anna, right? And I'm already in 4th grade, and so I want my other sneakers. So it's interesting to me that as a girl, they sometimes want to be part of a community, but then they deny themselves. And then you get to, my age and you're trying to remember, well, wait a minute, who am I? What do I stand for? And it's gone the opposite way.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because so my girls are teenagers and a teenager and college age. And because of my unique style, they were dressed very uniquely as kids, and it wasn't until this year that, my little Zoe goes, dang, I hated that you put those mixed match things together. That in my mind, she thinks, I think that plaids and stripes and dots and whatever go together. My sister makes fun of me all the time, and I'm like, no, but they're the same colors. The same colors go together. It doesn't matter the pattern, because that's how my eye sees it. But she goes, I just hated that you put me in these crazy outfits and made me stand out all the time. And I was like, oh. But she, at the time, she loved it. But now she's saying, as a teenager, I didn't like it, But when she was wearing them, she loved it.
Yeah, see, and that's what I love, because, again, and we talk about this too, that clothes can also transform you too. If you wear what you think you love, and it brings back that part of yourself.
Yeah, you should be comfortable in or feel empowered in what you're expressing into the world. It doesn't matter, like the makeup piece or whatever, the hair piece. I mean, yes, if it makes you feel better, then do it. Yes, but it's not every. I mean, you've seen me do plenty of things where I have no makeup on and my hair is not fixed. Because I'm totally comfortable in my skin. Doesn't matter. I also like to dress up. I like dressing up. I like being a girl. I love being a girl. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also women that I look at and I'm like, oh, wow, she has great style. I love that she's wearing that jacket that way or whatever. Or, if I see an older woman that may be in her 60s or 70s and she looks fantastic to me. Right? Even if she has wrinkles and her hair is gray, the way she carries herself is what I notice.
That gets back to what we were saying before, because I do think on some point or on some level, we've got to be attracted to that soul piece from someone as well too, so.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's, the universe's or our subtle way of bringing pieces back to ourselves, and us recognizing them. But I also feel like we tend to judge ourselves a lot, as far as, I should know myself better or whatever. And I think there's this interesting place too, when you go from not having kids to having kids, and then you try to adjust your style for that, like, I'm a mom, I should look like this, but I don't know where we got the model from. I'm sort of perplexed about that.
Well, I just felt like obviously when you have babies, like, forget it, the fashion, like I was always striving just to be dressed and not have, stuff on me like every other woman. And you were like, oh, one day I won't be carrying all this, I'll be dressed. And this is so funny you bring this up. Okay. Because so then when my two finally got to regular school, I used to think like, oh, this is going to be great. Because when they were in preschool, I graduated to having my fitness gear on, because you'd have just 3 hours. So you could get yourself, drop the kid at school, go work out, go to the grocery store, pick the kid back up. So I was never dressed. So when both finally went to school 2 years ago together, I was always put together at school. And now it's been 2 years and, you know, my days happen as they happen. I'm either going to be in sweats or I'm not or whatever. It's not, but I did go through that phase of feeling like I just want to be put together again and I want to look put together. But if I'm perfectly honest, it was also because there was that part of me thinking I'm at pickup. God, I can't be there in sweatpants. You know, by 3 o'clock, I need to look like I'm, you know, put together by then because the kids are grown. I put that totally on myself. I totally admit that.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, we do. But I think, you know, because, you know, my, you know, 3 is 5 now, but when he was younger, he had colic so bad, you know, I was thrown up on 24 hours a day, you know, so yeah, my gear was t-shirts and yoga pants. But the interesting space for me was it was the first time that I had gained a lot of weight. And I was struggling with my identity a little bit there, you know, and that's what gave me my insight around how I was viewing myself in the world, you know, how I was looking, how I was feeling. I didn't feel attractive or whatever the case may be. So I went through a journey during that time.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting through pregnancy for some of us, how through being a mom brings that out in us, you know, that lesson.
Yeah, it's really, you know, I consider, you know, birth and giving birth as a time of not rediscovering who you are, reinventing who you are, because you're not the same as you were before you were pregnant with that child. And so you have to figure out who you then now are. And I kind of feel like I have this interesting theory about us as women. I think we are supposed to reinvent ourselves numerous times because we need to understand who we are. I just don't think we take the time to do it.
Well, no, we're too busy looking at everybody else and going, wait a minute, we're still stuck on what we were talking about in the very beginning. Or we're just too afraid to take those steps because I think we know what we want to do and we're afraid to go on and do that.
Yeah, I think so too. But, you know, I feel like for myself, you know, I tend to be a creature of change anyway, so I know it comes easier for me. You know, I kind of thrive in that place. So I kind of push myself to do the opposite sometimes, you know, and just remain stable for a little bit, not do as much change, you know. But I have, I have looked at my own aging in that sense of like, okay, now it's time to reinvent myself again and look at, because now my son is with, the younger moms now, whereas I was the younger mom when my kids were young. Now I'm the older mom and I have a younger son, so I'm looking at that going, oh, okay, so this is interesting. And I don't mean that as far as labeling, I just mean as far as the experience for me. It's a very different thing. More patient and relaxed and not as worried about, making sure that I check off the list of volunteering 500 things, and, trying to be the good parent. I just want to be me.
Yeah, I feel like that's been a process for me. I feel like when the kids were younger in preschool that I struggled with that, totally trying to do the people-pleasing thing around preschool. And now it is quite different for me. It's more of a pick and choose. And as we were talking about the other day on the phone, what feels right what feels exciting to do and what I think I want my kids to see me doing. But how do we get women to take a look at where they are? I mean, if we're all meant to change and reinvent ourselves, how do you know when it's time to do that? Like what if you're not a mom, or, what should you be looking for in yourself as clues? I mean, I'm sure we're all getting clues, but how do people tune into that?
Unhappiness is one.
Hold on.
Okay. Like,
hold on. Okay, wait. I did not expect you to say unhappiness right out of the gate. Like, that is super, I mean, it makes sense, but I didn't expect that coming right out.
Yeah, it's also, oh, this is interesting. They're saying that it's an uncomfortableness inside of you. So you feel uncomfortable in your skin.
But are women really going to get that? See, I'm dying to ask them, because I think either they're getting it, but they're just sitting with that uncomfortable feeling, but at the same time watching other people change, wishing they could be there or wanting to be there, but not uncomfortable enough to take the first step. But what do you think?
No, I totally agree with you. I think that we're always afraid of looking different, standing out, doing our own thing. We want to conform, fit in. There's been tons and tons of case studies about people conforming, just conforming for the sake of conforming, because the response is automatic to conform instead of looking at your own.
Right. And I think I think too, there can be a slippery slope, right? If you're unhappy, and I don't mean it in a judgmental way, if deep down there's something that you want to do or change, but you don't know how to get there, and then what you're doing now just may seem more dull and more dull, then it's almost as if things for people start to feel like it's insurmountable, like you're walking uphill all the time. Do you know what I mean? And it,
yeah,
that's just how I see it. But yet I still see the desire in people. I see it. You can feel it. You can feel people going, man, I want to do that. Or you can just feel it. It's almost like a simmer underneath something, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, it makes total sense. The issue is that we're what we were talking about when you're in third grade and you don't want to wear the funky socks because you like the funky socks, but you don't want to wear the funky socks because then that means you stand out, and then you may get picked on. So the same is true in the adult world. Okay, it's just different things apply to that, right? So if it's driving a certain car, or it's talking a certain way, or having more education, or whatever the thing is that you are identifying with as fitting in.
Okay, so here's the story then. Then as women, we need to then turn it back to ourselves and say, okay, what is it? What's my list of what I think in my head I need to do to fit in? And then what? Turn around and say, well, that's a bunch of garbage. I don't need to do that. Ask the second question, what do I really want to do?
Yeah, it's asking that, and I often find that when I ask women, because I ask women a lot, especially in my classes and things like that, I ask, what do you want? Most of them don't know.
Well, wait, here's I felt like this too, right? So well before I met my husband, I was one of those people always, if I was dating someone, it was always, they'd say, where do you want to go to eat? Well, where do you want to go to eat? This constant conforming to whatever the guy wanted to do. That wasn't the guy's fault. They were completely asking me, what do you want to do? I was completely just not in touch with it at all because I hadn't asked myself in years, because starting in 3rd grade, I was conform. So I got to the point where I didn't even know what I wanted. And I had to sit with it, believe it or not, for a little bit to really ask and say, no, really, what is it that you want to do? How do you define it? And I think I can't be alone. There's got to be a lot of women in that place.
Yeah, no, it's very true. That is one of the questions. Like when I literally, I'm telling you, when I ask that question, I get blank stares and I get, I don't know. And then I ask them, what do you love? I don't know.
Oh man, because I thought for sure you were going to say, when you say, what do you love? Because the energy of just that question, right? The energy of what do you want, which for me puts fear in, oh no, you're asking me a question, to if you flip it and say, what do you love? The love word for me just completely sparks my creativity. That's how I take it though.
Yeah, totally. But I still get the I don't know, because they're not used to, we as women are not used to giving ourselves, get this one, permission to want or desire anything. But, so, yeah.
Okay, but the whole premise though is we're entitled by birth, right, divinely, to have whatever we want. So it just astounds me that somehow we start out that way, we hit 3rd grade, and then we start this slippery slope or whatever grade, and then we get to, you know, either 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and we're at this place. That just astounds me, you know, where we have to then start to get that spark going again and actually start, I don't want to say start over, but that's just crazy to me.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is it's the most alive in our 20s. It's the most active from 15 to 20, that desire, passion. I love this, because you're very clear about what you want and what you don't want in that time frame. And then after that point, it sort of adjusts to outside circumstances again.
But you can get it back, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Okay. So again, so women, then we should routinely then be saying to ourselves, what do I love? What do I love? Right?
Yeah.
Constantly.
And you know, and giving yourself permission to not love it, you know, after a time period too. Like, it's like, oh, well, I loved blue for years, but now I don't like it so much. Well, does that make you indecisive, or does that make you being authentic?
Right. No, it's true. And again, as kids, we were able to do that, you know, easily. You know, my daughter loved orange for years and years, and then she didn't like orange, and then she liked blue, and then she hates pink and whatever. And it was no big deal. I found as a parent, I would still try to force it down. What do you mean you don't like pink? You know, here's no shirt, you know.
Yeah, I've got a funny story about the pink. Okay, so little Zoe, I guess she was 4, and she said she wanted a complete pink birthday. Everybody had to show up in pink, and that included my father and Steve, and the whole party had to be pink. Baby Barbie pink. Okay. So we all showed up and everything was pink. So I decided I'm just going to paint the ceiling, the walls, did her comforter, everything, the lampshade, the curtains. It was pink, everything. And then now she's like, oh, you remember that birthday when I had everything I wanted was pink? She remembers it as this time where she was given permission to just express herself.
Well, and that's key, Janelle. What I love is we know this about you. You go all out, right? There is no limit. And I love that because that anchored something in her. So, okay, back to adults. How do we do that for ourselves? How does that look? I mean, if you identify, I don't know, I love swimming, how do you do that in giving yourself permission to anchor that back in?
Well, so I always like to use myself as the example, right? So I like to learn all kinds of different things all the time. I just like to explore, learn about myself, learn about, even if I'm not good at it, a thing, I just like to try it. I just like to try it, just to try it for, whatever. And sometimes I find things I'm great at and sometimes I'm not so great at it. But I like exploring and learning new things. But what it's done is helped me understand what that component is in myself, so that I can then teach people how to be that way, not to be how I am, but be how you are, and allowing yourself to be whatever it is that you're wanting to seek.
Well, is it because whatever you're wanting to do just brings out more of your authentic self? Is that right? I mean,
yeah,
whatever we're attracted to is that piece of our being that is more than our body, that we just keep kind of coming in contact with. So that just brings your authentic self out even more, right?
Yeah. So it came up when I taught the goddess class recently. One of the questions I asked was, who do you identify in your mind as a goddess? Not meaning the goddesses like Greek goddesses and things like that, like a living person. What it would be goddess energy to you? Like, how do you identify that? Because to me, what my goal in teaching that class is to help women become more in tune with their authentic self. And so when I asked the question, I really honestly, you're gonna laugh when I say this to you. I already know it because I can hear you laughing. They said me.
I would have too, 100%, absolutely.
And I was not, in my mind, I don't even see, it's not because I don't own that. I just don't see myself that way, right? Not because I don't think it's true. It's not that. It's just because I'm so connected to myself. I almost don't see that outer perspective as much, But so then I ask the questions around it. So is it how I wear my hair? Is it what clothes I wear? Is it how I present myself? Is it how comfortable I am and who I am? Is it that I give myself permission to be whatever in the moment? And all of those things were true.
Yeah.
But the most true was how I give myself permission to be whoever I am in that moment.
Well, that's huge. I mean,
the most true.
Yeah. And it's amazing to me because that's the definition of goddess. And I guess for women, like, the world is asking them to get back in touch with this. We need the women to just be who you are. And again, it's amazing that you say we have to give ourselves permission to do that. Like, we didn't used to have to, but we do now, to know it's okay, go do it. And then support. Secondly, everybody else has to step in and support instead of doing all stinky eye on you, because you're being that person.
It reminds me of, this is what it reminds me of, because this is what flashed into my head and you're going to die laughing again. It reminds me of when I was in Jersey and we had to drive in town because and I ran with no shoes on and we got into the cab and I was meeting Norma Kamali, who I'd never met before. I didn't know from Adam, right? And really, because that's kind of like, now looking back, we're both like, how did we not know that, right?
No, I totally agree.
And remember, we walked in and remember I had to use the restroom so bad and I ran up the stairs and I'm jiggling the handle on the door and it's her that's in the restroom. And I was like mortified and she comes out laughing at me hysterically, Yeah. Oh. And to me, she represented what I loved about her, sitting across from her, even though she had the, black glasses on and, the ambiance was there, like Andy Warhol, Studio 54 thing. What I liked was that she was comfortable being her.
Yeah.
And that's what I identified with.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't remember. I don't think she came down. I think she came downstairs, and I think I don't know if you saw her, or later on we looked at pictures. I don't remember exactly what happened, but in the coming out moment from downstairs. But, I just remember that moment sitting across from her and thinking about how authentic she was to herself.
Well, yeah.
And how I really identified with that.
Right, Janelle, because I mean, we're all energy, right? And you always say our name is like our signature. So when we're not giving ourselves permission to be just that, our authentic self, or I should say this, when we are giving ourselves permission to be our authentic self, I mean, we must just feel so different. When you're not, your energy, as you said in the beginning, must feel constricted and muddied is the wrong word.
Bound up.
Yeah, and I know that we're all aware that we can feel, but we don't always know that. So it must feel so free when you meet that person, and it makes everybody else just feel at ease because you're not, you just are who you are, and that's who you're supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so I think, to me, the message in us doing this together is, to stop pushing so hard to be something that you've identified yourself as. I think that's the first lesson in that. The second lesson I would say would be allowing, yourself to be uncomfortable if you feel uncomfortable. And then also allowing yourself to just be whoever that is in the moment with that. And to, work. I think the third thing for me would be to find those things that you love again. Like when you were younger and you could really identify with, I love pink, or I love plaid, or I like the vest shirt, or whatever it is. Not just using clothes, but,
or I like building sandcastles, whatever. I like to ride my bike, whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. Like you may be doing yoga and hate yoga.
Right. Not me. No.
But you do it because it's no, not you at all. You didn't do that, did you? But you do it because it's the thing that you think everybody's doing that you have to do.
Yeah, instead of doing that which you're called to do. But I love the fact, and I know we're kind of starting to run out of time, but I love the fact that you also said, and you've said this before, to give ourselves permission to feel whatever it is you're feeling, positive or negative, it's fine.
Yeah, totally. So when I look at overall, I think if we stop really kind of looking at other women and kind of look at ourselves more, and not in a judgmental eye, but in an allowing eye and a softer eye, we're not here to be perfect. And, that's just a fact. So it's just the acceptance of what is. Who are you now? Not who you're going to be, who are you in this moment, and really enjoying that moment of being you in this space. Because even when I look back when I was younger, I look at I was not 100% comfortable in my skin. Because I was really a bit, I'm really petite, I'm short, and I went through like an awkward phase, like in my 20s, because I had my daughter early, so, I went through an awkward phase with that. So, I really, over the last couple of years, have come to this agreement with myself to allow myself to be comfortable in the space that I'm in.
Well, and, I just loved how you just used the word agreement, because I think too, Janelle, through the years, what I've learned from you is oftentimes you do either speak out loud or use those words like agreement, or I'm going to allow myself to do X, Y, Z, so that it's a statement. I mean, and I'm sure you don't always have to say it, but I just loved how how you put those words there, because that sets it into motion.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, it's also the willingness, or the for me, the willingness to go in, you know, the willingness to look at myself as a work in progress. You know, even though I have a lot of answers and I have a lot of insight about myself, I really have the awareness that I want to continue to grow within myself. If that means, you know, whatever it means, you know, where I may be like in this weird place where I don't know who I am, I know that that's going to come back to me. I totally trust that. So here's what. So wrapping up, I would say, like, go back to the 3 things that we talked about, you know, which is the allowing yourself, truly be honest with yourself about what you love. And if you really love something in the moment, express it. I love the bracelet that I'm wearing. It was a great gift to me, and I like the way it feels, so I touch it a lot, you know, those things, you know. So express yourself and what you love more, and give yourself permission to do that. And you know, if you're unhappy, give yourself permission to be unhappy and not know who you are.
Right, because by doing that, then you'll move through it and you'll start to open up to see what the next step is, right?
Yeah, totally. And that's why I think why they put the title of the show being How Not to Show Your A in Public. Because if you're walking around with that judgment of yourself and then judgment of other people, it's going to show up, and it's not going to be cute at all. And you're going to feel it. And then you're going to feel like, well, crap, that sucked. I hated being there. And then you're not going to want to go out anymore or be around people. And that's just horrible. So no. But I think I think they got their message across pretty intensely. You and I have a Spiritual Happy Hour book coming out very soon, and look for us doing the radio show again. You know, so I don't know what the topic's going to be, but we'll pick one soon.
Yeah, and I think we said every other Friday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I can't wait for the book. I mean, it's been a journey just between me and you, and it's been a journey writing it. So I cannot wait.
Oh my God. We really do. We really need to make a play out of the book. I'm telling you, it would be a great comedy.
Oh, we're making a play. I went walking today with a friend of mine, and I was telling her my version of the play, and she was laughing her head off. It was actually my sister. So, you know, no, we're making that play.
You know, because we're both doing our own hitting our heads against the wall moment, you know, so it really, it's totally funny to me. Like, you didn't see it so much in this one because it felt more, this interaction between me and you felt more controlled and direct, you know, versus some of them are more flowing and that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. And also I feel like your team was giving me, they came out slow for me this time. They were kind, and not that they always aren't, but they didn't come out hitting. And so just for those that are new to the show, everything that Janelle says is channeled in from her team of spiritual guides. And so as we move through this, there is some great interaction that comes through. And yes, today was much more controlled, I think, with my first time out of the gate again, but yeah, always fantastic. But yes,
they didn't hit you with the bat.
No, they didn't. They didn't come out. They were kind, because usually the first channeled statement that comes out of your mouth just usually floors me, and I have nothing to say and no question, because I'm still trying to get it wrapped around my head. And my notes will usually just go straight up into the air. But no, they were super kind. They're like, we'll just give her a slow one today.
Well, and I have to give you props, because I know how much preparation you like to have in advance, and we usually do like a test run and things like that. And I needed to give myself permission to rest today, and so I'm very grateful for you jumping in and being vulnerable to that.
Well, again, and Janelle, like you're the one person that can give me that safe space to do that. I just love Spiritual Happy Hour. I feel like as women together, coming together, trying to demonstrate the ups and downs of life, right? Like who we are, life happens, and we show up, and and we just do it, and we just do our thing. And so you're just fantastic, and I love every minute of it. So,
All right. Well, look for us again, Spiritual Happy Hour, YouTube. There's Twitter, Spiritual Happy Hour, and you can join us on Facebook at Spiritual Happy Hour. We'll look for the book coming shortly. If you're interested in interviewing with either Jen or I or both of us together, which I think is even more fantastic, it's 2 for 1. Also have that as well. It would be Taco Tuesday. That would be fantastic. You could interview us for Taco Tuesday. I think today is International Taco Day, is it not? I think it is.
Well, and I love Mexican food, so I'm all for it,
Oh my goodness. All right. So much love to all of you guys. Peace out. We're out.
Yep. See you next time. Bye.